Now, there's more I can read, but time won't allow. So that's enough of Thomas Jefferson. You got his number? Author of the Declaration of Independence? How about John Adams? People think, well, he was an honorable man, and he was trained amongst the Puritans at Harvard. I think it was Harvard, as opposed to Princeton. And he was trained by Orthodox Calvinists. He didn't end up that way. John Adams, writing to Benjamin Rush on June 12, 1812, said, quote, "The Trinity was carried in a general council by one vote against a quaternity. The Virgin Mary lost an equality with the Father, Son, and Spirit only by a single suffrage." In a letter to John Quincy Adams, March 28, 1816, John Adams writes, "An incarnate God? An eternal, self-existent, omnipresent, omniscient author of this stupendous universe suffering on a cross? My soul starts with horror at the idea, and it has stupefied the Christian world. It has been the source of almost all of the corruptions of Christianity." There's your John Adams, who, by the way, is buried in a Unitarian church. Thomas Paine. Oh boy, I mean, he's probably the worst, Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine said, "I would not dare to dishonor my Creator God by attaching his name to that book." And the book he's speaking of is the Bible. It is the duty of every true deist to vindicate the moral justice of God against the evils of the Bible. Is that enough of Thomas Paine? Boy, I could go on a long time about Thomas Paine. I've preached on him before. He was a socialist, an internationalist, a Marxist before there was a Karl Marx. I'm not exaggerating, but I don't have time to get into it. James Madison. James Madison, he said, quote, "What influence, in fact, have Christian ecclesiastical establishment had on civil society? In many instances, they have been upholding the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance have they been seen as the guardians of liberties of the people. In no instance has any form of Christianity been the guardians of liberty. What in the world do you think the Protestant Reformation was?" He continues, "Rulers who wish to subvert the public liberty have found in the clergy convenient auxiliaries. A just government instituted to secure and perpetuate liberty does not need the clergy." James Madison. James Madison did not want the churches to be tax exempt. Benjamin Franklin. Was anybody more fundamental in helping the American cause of the colonists than Benjamin Franklin, particularly when we consider his work amongst the French and over in Europe and through other venues? But anyway, Benjamin Franklin wrote, "Original sin was as ridiculous as imputed righteousness." Good old Ben Franklin. He said, "As to Jesus of Nazareth, my opinion of whom you particularly desire, I think the system of morals and his religion has received various corrupting changes, and I have, with most of the present dissenters in England, some doubts as to his divinity." Ben Franklin, born-again believer? I think not. Ethan Allen. Maybe you'll buy your next couch at Bob's Discount Furniture. Ethan Allen. He writes that Jesus was not God is evidence from his own words. Really? Ethan Allen also said, I have been given the denominated as a deist, the reality of which I never disputed, being conscious that I am no Christian. You know, Benjamin Franklin brought his grandson to France and took his grandson. His grandson kneeled before Voltaire. And Voltaire, being an old man at that point, took his hands and placed them on the head of Benjamin Franklin's grandson and pronounced a blessing on his grandson. Now, I don't know if Benjamin Franklin just didn't want the clergy to christen or bless or dedicate his grandson. He wanted Voltaire to do it. And the grandson was a little bit older. He may have been, I don't know the exact age. He may have been 10 years old or something. But he brought him to Voltaire. And Benjamin Franklin and Voltaire were like this. And Voltaire said, for instance, every sensible man, every honorable man must hold the Christian sect in horror. Christianity is the most ridiculous, the most absurd, and bloody religion that has ever infected the world.